my name is Madison and welcome back to my channel. If y'all are new here, welcome. I just finished my second year as an aerospace engineering major and will be a junior in the fall, which sounds absolutely crazy. I study aerospace engineering and computer science at the University of Colorado at Boulder, and I have so many of y'all that always ask me questions about what it's like to be an aerospace engineering major, which I have a Q&A coming. If y'all want to leave me questions and things down below, let me know. But today I specifically just wanted to talk to y'all about my sophomore year of college. Unlike a lot of schools, especially like high school, middle school schools, I've been doing online school since March of 2020. So the fact that I spent about 15 months on Zoom University boggles my mind. It honestly went by really fast. And while I do wish things were in person, I'm grateful for the few experiences I did have in person. I'm grateful I got to work in person almost every day second semester. And I think it really taught me a lot about myself. I learned about my work ethic. I learned about how I learn. It really held me accountable. I learned a lot more about study habits, study techniques. I learned that lecture is not the answer to all of your problems. Now, that is a very differing opinion between people, but this past semester I took the hardest class I've ever taken, and I ended with a grade that I'm very proud of. Now I can confidently say I did not go to lecture more than 3 times all semester, and that was due to the fact that I made that course's textbook the Bible. I self-taught my way through that class, which I'm very, very proud of. The professors were great, don't get me wrong, but the times did not work for me. And while there were lecture recordings and things like that, I really learned that me watching the video on 2 times speed at 9:30 at night when I'm half asleep is not gonna teach me well. And I could have gone to lecture and I could have gone to class, but I decided that I had dabbled in textbook reading and I just wanted to see how it went. So I gave it a few exams to just see like how it was going, and it ended up working out, so I kept it for the whole semester. And it is really hard to keep yourself accountable for that because you know, you don't have that sit down time. You don't have that scheduled time of every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday you're gonna sit down and do this. You don't have a professor and your friends and things like that holding you accountable. It's all up to you. But I really encourage you that if that's something that might work for you, I really hope you can't hear that. But if that's something that might work for you, give it a shot. Now, you might have great professors, you might have horrible ones. And if you have a great professor, awesome. Use the textbook as a supplement. But I really got to the point where I was learning so much more thoroughly. I was understanding so much better through this textbook as opposed to going to lecture. And now I'm the kind of person where if you give me a problem in class, especially the last half of class, I'm probably just gonna sit there and watch it get done. I know myself well enough to say that, and it's not something that I'm necessarily proud of, and maybe it's something that I should start to work on, but I know that I will not pause the video. I know that I will not try to not listen to the professor's answer. I'll just sit there and watch, and that doesn't work for me. Having to physically read through the process of something, and then I have examples I can go pause, do on my own time, and then come back to look at the answers works a lot better for me as opposed to trying to follow along with the professor. And it's probably not going to work for everybody, and honestly it might not even work for every class because a lot of it comes down to the textbook as well. One of my classes, the textbook was absolute garbage. Like, okay, granted, the people who wrote it are probably really smart, so don't get me wrong, but literally no color. There was no color. There was very, very, very few examples. So few just like spaces. It was so dense and the words were so small. The spacing was so tight. No examples, no workout problems, no nothing. It was, your homework would be squished as tight as it could be on this one page, and that would be your homework for that class. That'd get taken out of the textbook. The graphs were so small and so just like tight and fuzzy that you're going back trying to use it as a reference to get numbers and values and things like that, and it's just so hard to read. But I had this class, dynamics and statics, that used this textbook and another one made by the same people, and this textbook is amazing. So many images, so much color, literally like between 20 and 120 workout problems and examples for you to go through with answers for every single unit. It's so many resources that it really just sets you up for success. Graphics and color and images, and just this textbook was amazing. So highly recommend the Engineering Dynamics 5th edition from Bedford and Fowler. But that was a really big proud moment for me this past semester, was just getting through that class as well as I did self-taught, and I'm really proud to say that I did that as well as I did. So but that's not to say it was easy. This semester and this past year has been the hardest year of my life, and now not just because of COVID, and I'm very fortunate in that I don't think COVID made all that much of a difference. I think my mental health was still doing really well. I think I still have great friends in my life. I still had great people around me, and not everyone can say the same, so I'm very fortunate for that. But this last year was so hard simply because of, I think, just the rigor of sophomore year. And now I can't speak for every university, but at CU Boulder, sophomore year for aerospace is typically like the weed out year. Now, the terminology weed out can be taken very different ways, and it kind of depends on the class and depends on the major per se. But when I took the computer science weed out course, which at CU Boulder I've heard is computer systems, which I took this past semester, I did not think that class was that hard. I think the content is not terrible. I think it's not that hard to get a very good grade in. The weed out terminology from that comes with a lot of kids get slapped in the face by the workload, and if you can't keep up with the workload, you're simply just not going to pass the class. But if you can keep up with the workload, heck, you'll probably get an A or A minus so easy, just because of the nature of that class. Where these aerospace classes at CU Boulder, for all of your aerospace classes, you need a 73% exam average or higher in order to pass the class. It does not matter if you have 110% on all of your labs. If you can't pass the exams, you will not pass the class. And passing the exams is very challenging. When I say challenging, I mean really, really challenging. I had exams where I was well above the average, like one of the highest scores of the class, and I had other exams where I was far below the average, and it just will really come down to your work ethic on how you study and how much effort you put into study, and it comes down to the content. You're not going to pick up every bit of content just as easily as you picked up something else. But being able to hopefully do really well on the stuff you understand can kind of make up for the things you don't understand as well, or the things you didn't study for quite as much. And I think that's what gets a lot of kids, is a lot of kids either don't put in the time to study, don't do 6, 7, 8 practice exams before each actual exam to prepare themselves, or they simply just don't understand the content well enough as a whole, combined with that work ethic to get there. Now, I truly believe that if you study enough and you take the time to use your resources, you will pass the class and you will do really well. Some kids do pick it up better than others, but you have all the resources you need. Holy cow, there's another siren going off. You have all the resources you need. You have the textbook, you have multiple professors, you have 200, 300 kids surrounding you that you can reach out to. You have 8 to 12 TAs with office hours almost every hour of the day that you can reach out to. You have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of workout problems and practice examples that you can go through. For a lot of your classes, your homework will come from the textbook, and your exams are based off of the homework. Go above and beyond. Do twice as many problems in here as your homework is telling you to do. There are so many ways that you can really just try to set yourself up for success. And I understand that kind of isn't as easier. Ooh, it's a lot easier said than done, and I'm definitely working on that still, but use your resources. I definitely am very proud of just like how much I figured out what works for me. Another thing I want to highlight is office hours. This past year, I think I went to office hours twice, and that was before my computer systems final this past semester. That's a lie. And I went to office hours once for a statics lab in the fall, but other than that, I did not go to office hours for anything else. I went 3 times, 2 for a computer science class and once for my statics class. And y'all maybe heard me talk about this, but freshman year, my first year of college, I lived at office hours. I was at office hours almost every single day. And it wasn't until my boyfriend said something this year that it kind of really made me rethink things. I was getting to the point with office hours where I was becoming too reliant on it. And I think it's really hard to find that balance of using your friends and your TAs and your LAs and professors as a resource for you, and having them do a little bit too much for you. And I had gotten to the point where I was having them do a little bit too much for me. I got to the point where before I thought about it myself, I would ask for help. Before I tried it myself, did the entire Calc 3, DiffyQ, whatever homework, before I did it all on my own and tried and failed, I went straight for help just because I assumed I didn't know how to do it. And that's really, really, really detrimental. If you never see where you fail and why you're failing, you're never going to actually learn. And that is something that I really did a lot this year. And me not going to office hours, I think really paid off, because I really feel like I understood the content so much more thoroughly than I did the classes I was going to office hours for my first year, just because I never gave myself a chance to fail. Again, a lot easier said than done, especially at the end of the semester when you get exhausted and things like that. But I really want to encourage you to find a way to try and fail yourself. And a lot of times for me, that was this past semester. One of my aerospace classes, I didn't have homework. Well, we had homework, but we didn't turn it in for a grade. So you needed to do the homework if you wanted to understand the content to do well in the exams, but you never actually turned it in for a grade. And I would always try to do all the homework before they released the answers. They would release the answers like a week or 2 before the exam. And that would give me enough chance to try it on my own and fail, and then go back and learn from it. And another thing I want to highlight is, don't just go back to the questions you failed. Go back to the questions you did well, because that'll just help you solidify why you did what you did and make sure that you understand what is actually going on. If you never know why you're failing and how you're failing, you'll get to that situation on an exam where you'll get to a situation on an exam where you don't know how to fix where you're at. And that's what happened to me my first year. Again, it's a hard balance to find, but just find what works for you. And I really, really, really want to encourage y'all to fail. Let yourself fail. Sophomore year was also really interesting for me, just because I don't think I prioritized things enough. And while school should always come first, just because you're paying a lot of money, putting a lot of energy to be here, your mental health and your well-being should be a very, very, very close second. And I don't think I did that enough. While I think I was happy a lot of the time, and I think I was smiling on the outside, I think I really wish I would have taken more time for myself. Even if that was going to the gym 1 more time a week, or going to the barn once more a week, or giving myself a day, half a day off. My boyfriend and I really, at the beginning of the semester, told ourselves we were going to give ourselves 1 day every week off, and that was going to be a weekend day, and we were going to do something fun. Not just lay around and sit at home and be lazy, but really go do something fun. And while it sounds great in theory, it's really hard to like that's really unattainable, especially with our majors and our coursework, and both of us have 2 jobs. We're both heavily involved in a club. So find what works for you, but I really want to make an effort to try to do something like that again this next semester. And even if it's giving myself Sunday afternoons off, where I put my computer away, go outside, and just get some fresh air and think about something other than school. I think I was a lot more burned out than I realized, and that didn't come until the end of the semester, when you can kind of take a step back and take a breather and really realize how emotionally and physically drained I was. And I know it's all relative, so I'm just gonna say this, but I was really busy, and everybody says they're really busy, and that means something different to every person. So I'm just gonna kind of sum up what I did. I have 3 jobs. I have 2 jobs that are paid, 1 job that is volunteer. And that is, I'm a campus ambassador, so I give tours, and do live chats and questionnaires and all sorts of things like that. Now that's not a huge time commitment, but it is something to be aware of. I have 2 other jobs. I worked 23 to 25 hours a week every single week this past semester, except for 1. And that was before I got my 2nd job. I took 14 credit hours, which is the lowest amount of credits I've ever taken. And I took 3 classes, which, same thing, lowest amount of classes I've ever taken. 2 of them were 5 credit classes with 8 hours of lab, so that was fun. I was in a club that we had 7 hours of meetings every week, which I do not regret at all. That was so much fun, and I'm already looking forward to next semester. I went to the barn and rode a horse once a week that I'm now leasing and competing, so that's been really fun. I'm also on the National Youth Board for the United States Pony Club, so I'm one of 14 people representing the United States Pony Club on the National Youth Board that I was elected into last year. And we have meetings 3 times a month that are each about an hour plus long. So almost every week I have to fork out some time for that. And I'm trying to balance 2 YouTube channels, which trying is the key word there. So point is, to me, that felt really busy. Now to somebody else, busy might be 19 credit hours, might be a ton of clubs, might be a sports team, it might be who knows what. That was busy for me. And I think it's important to realize that busy for you will look very different than what busy to somebody else means. And that's all about what you can handle, where your priorities at, and just how you can juggle your emotions on top of that. I think hustle culture is something that I've definitely fallen in the wake of that I'm not very proud of. I think it's so toxic, and the media doesn't really highlight that much, and I've really started to realize lately that I find myself in the middle of that and I don't really know what to do about it. So for those of you who don't know, hustle culture is in my understanding, being so busy and overwhelmed that your mental health is being compromised, but being proud of it and bragging about it and putting others down for not being as busy as you are, when in reality, you are the unhealthy one. And hustle culture is really toxic. It's this idea that you need to be busy from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. every single day. It's this idea that you need to put yourself just a little bit past the breaking point. And that's where you find success. And I do not think that is healthy whatsoever. And I think I'm there. I'm not proud of that. I really think that I am past my breaking point and that I'm too involved and too busy and too consumed to let myself work on my mental health and my physical health and my just like overall well-being, because I'm so consumed by all these other things. And I don't really know what needs to give, and that's kind of my confusion right now, is something has to give, but I don't really know what. And I think a lot of people who do fall into that wake up hustle culture are busy for the sake of being busy. They're busy for the sake of telling other people, I work 58 hours a week. I work, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think, and when you tell somebody how busy you are, they might take that as, oh, I'm not doing enough. Oh, they're so much better than me. When in reality, you are probably so much healthier and so much better off than that person who's way, 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 way involved and way too just spread thin. And that's kind of where I feel like I'm at. And again, I don't know what has to give, and I'm trying to figure that out for next semester, just because I do want to have time to go on walks in the evening, and I want to have time to be at the barn for 4 hours and not feel guilty about it and not feel rushed. And I don't really know what has to give and what's gonna give, because classes are hard. Classes are never gonna get easier for the next 2 years. And it's kind of a sacrifice I've made, and I think a lot of students make, is you're gonna sit down and focus and grind for 4 years and you're gonna be set. Or maybe you go get your PhD, which I don't know what I'm thinking about that right now. So point is, please do not exhaust yourself. I am exhausted, and I really felt just so drained at the end of last semester, and I'm still trying to figure out what needs to give and what I'm going to change for this next semester, and I hope you all can do the same as well. Sorry for that long ramble, but I kind of wanted to just talk to y'all about my semester and kind of where I'm at with things, and just kind of be real with y'all. Like I said, I have so many viewers that are here for my aerospace stuff, and I love that. I just am not quite sure what y'all want to see from that, and I thought me kind of explaining my past year and just where I've grown, where I need to improve for next year, might give y'all a better idea of what this major looks like, what college looks like, what kind of the reality of this over-involved, overly intense schedule of like a STEM major. So I would love if y'all gave me any video ideas, advice, anything like that on what you want to see with this channel and what my aerospace friends out there hope to get from me. I want to be someone you can kind of ask questions and get advice from, and that whole kind of thing. I want to be that person for y'all, just because I feel like when I think of another YouTuber just like me, I can't think of one, and that makes me really proud. I don't want to be a copy of someone that's already out there. I want to be whatever I want myself to be, and right now that person is my school, productivity, planning, STEM side, life success, that whole side of me. And I also want to be able to show y'all my horse stuff and my workout stuff, and I like shopping and that whole side of me. And I just hope y'all enjoy, and I'm still rambling, so I'm gonna let y'all go. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.